And welcome everybody to another exciting installment of the Terrorisk podcast. I'm with Geneva and Lucas.
Hello.
Cheers. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Seriously, it's always a pleasure to talk to G. And I haven't spoken to you in a minute, Lucas.
Yeah, it's been a good bit.
Yeah, it's been a while since you were at our house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually literally just reminiscing over that, talking to Steph.
Oh man, yeah, that was so fun.
Yeah.
That was a crazy party. You set our porch table on fire.
Yeah.
Well, the really cool thing about that is that it grows little mushrooms on it now because of what you did. So you created life.
I didn't
sure that was you.
I didn't realize I set anything on fire. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Wait, you didn't? You don't remember that?
I don't think anyone told me. Or maybe I was just maybe I was
It was
really
just for a
fucked
second
up.
or two.
I think
Yeah.
you were really fucked up. But yeah, you totally set the table on our back porch.
That's crazy.
Well, you were trying to start our grill with Everclear, I think.
Yes.
Wow, that's a way to do it though. I mean, if you don't have propane, you might as well just use
it's a-
100
Yeah.
200 proof
It's a near
vodka.
and
It
yeah,
probably would have worked if it wasn't raining.
yeah. It's a near invisible
time.
flame too, which is extra scary.
Yeah. So what you guys have been up to? You guys have been up to your the video project and stuff, the video show?
Yeah, we've recently started our own YouTube channel. Originally just to host super sick investigations and make like funny little shorts when we feel like it. But
Yeah,
we started doing a live stream every Thursday around 8. We've been playing different games. Most recently it's been System Shock 2, which has been a lot of fun. It's my first time. We're playing co-op.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Now that I realize, this is like officially a collab, I guess, between Terrorisk and the show.
Yeah, Liquid Riff. Yeah, we on our YouTube page, we have you listed right on the channel under friends.
Oh shit, yeah, I'll plug you guys up. And
Thanks, man.
yeah, I want to play some games with friends. I haven't gotten to.
Yo, yeah.
Hell yeah.
You should totally come on our show too. I just need to. I have an overlay for just 2 people right now, but I plan on making another one for like having a friend on the show playing a game with us.
Yeah, I like I don't know, my most consistent guest or co-host is Carmen, and sometimes
Carmen
his
rules.
buddies. Yeah, he's a great conversationalist.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, Carmen's. You go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, just Carmen is like he's like a natural entertainer. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, and you know, he's got this like very disarming vibe. So when he says like outright bigoted shit every once in a while, it just flies right over your head, and you're like, wait a minute, what did he just say? So
Yeah, you
it's
don't expect it from a handlebar mustache like that.
yeah, it's really funny. And I don't know if I told you guys about Sovereign House.
Is that the bar?
It's not even a bar. I don't even think it's a legally like it's a legal venue to serve alcohol out of. I think it's more like
speakeasy.
kind of it's supposedly it's a venue where you go and you do readings. Like you write stuff and you read it out loud into a mic. I personally never understood the appeal to those kinds of activities, but when I go there, there's always like an open bar or something along the lines. So I always get fucked up, and I get to hang around with a bunch of
Nice.
like neoconservative autistic weirdos who live in New York City. And there's a lot of them, and they're not all like yeah. And it's weird because they you would think they're like basement dwelling freaky looking people, but no, they're like young hot 20 somethings, you know. And I'm like, okay,
Very fashionable.
Yeah, they're
I
just
get-
in a pressure cooker. All that energy has to go somewhere.
yeah,
They're living in New York City, and they're like, my thoughts. I have to get my thoughts out.
yeah, it's really funny. And you'd have like disgraced academics show up and shit.
Oh, that's
Nice.
fun.
Yeah.
It sounds like a nice thing to do. I would probably do that once every month or 2. I'd go there. if
Oh,
I
yeah.
lived in the area.
And it's actually managed by fucking Tim Titus. So
Yeah.
so he's got like cultural influence. It's so bizarre. And
yeah, you were mentioning.
yeah, one night I was there. I brought like my practice swords, you know, and for like
cool.
for sparring. So me and one of Carmen's roommates just like started, you know, just sparring it, and I like kind of fucked him up like really bad. So, you know, and then everyone was like, oh, it was like a spectacle, you know, because it happened in that outdoor area in Manhattan.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
people were like, wow, that's actually it gets my blood flowing in a primal way, you know, shit like that.
Sword fighting.
So, like,
People haven't seen sword fighting, most of them, in a while. So we
Forever.
need to go back.
so it's funny you say that. So I don't go to that spot for like, you know, another month or two, and I come back for the New Year's Eve party. Like Carmen brings me there with all of his roommates, and Tim was there, and you know everyone was like dressed really well. I go to the back, right, and suddenly like in a ritual manner, it's like, all right, everybody, Fight Club time, and they start like brawling down, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And Carmen was like, yeah, so apparently the last time you came and it incited like some kind of ritualistic violent event, it really took off, and I guess people really wanted to keep doing it. And I was like, okay, you know, so it's just
That's so funny.
There's not. Yeah. Sorry.
Carmen
G.
was in my Fight Club that I had in 2017. Which was, you know, forever ago now. But I had a little fight club going in 2017, and Carmen was a part of that. It was also Baby's first fight club for both
Was
of
he
us.
enthusiastic? Was he an enthusiastic participant?
No, he didn't participate at all. I didn't even participate, and I was pissed because like it was New Year's Eve, so I was like dressed really nice. I was in my nice outfit, and like if I went and did that, I would have fucked it up. Like, and I was like, I was like so itching to do it, to like just jump in, but I was like, fuck, I would feel really stupid afterward. I just knew that, like whether I won or lost, I would still feel like really fucking stupid, you know, afterwards.
Our society has like a little bit of like random chaotic violence, but there's not that much organized violence going on. And I feel like people need just a little bit of like pre-planned, organized violence with rules and like, no, this is cool, this is not cool. Nobody knows what's what anymore.
Well, if you want to look at it in a philosophical way, I guess you could argue that, you know, violence is inherent in our nature. And it's probably better to find like a productive outlet for it than to just repress it. I mean, plenty of like people talked about that shit throughout history. They were like, yeah, you know, we had these rituals for a reason, and on these ceremonies, like you can't take that away or people are going to go crazy, and like it comes out sooner or later. So I agree with that sentiment, actually.
And it breeds like fraternity, or I guess when I was doing it, it bred community. There we go.
Yeah. or in layman's terms, like everyone gets to just let off some steam, you know, because that's really what it is. It's like everyone builds up a lot of tension around each other when we're forcing ourselves to like be a certain way. It's nice to just like be like, no, I'm gonna fuck this guy up. I mean,
I'm an animal.
Well, I do martial arts, so for me, it's not like something I ever really feel I repress. It's like something that I just constantly do. You know, when I don't have an injured finger and I like go to class like 3 days a week. But but like when it was going down in like Sovereign House, I understood why they were reacting that way. You know, like I get it's like, okay, you guys are probably like getting a little horny for violence right now, huh? You know, like,
they were missing it.
They never do it.
Yeah, I could see it. You know, I could see where they're coming from. So I didn't like, you know, who went far from me to stop them? Like, go for it. Just don't kill yourselves, like, I guess.
And when I was doing the Fight Club, I mean, we had some people in there who knew different kinds of martial arts. So just by way of fighting each other, we all sort of learned some tricks from different martial arts, and kung fu, jiu-jitsu, boxing, you know. It was really fun.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it for that same reason, because I'm not trained to fight that way. I think like there's combat sports, which is going to teach you how to like fuck people up in its own way, assuming that you're in like an octagon and there's rules, things you can't do. And then there's like martial arts where it's like, listen, the only objective here is to survive. So if you have to like jam your thumb in the person's eye or kick them in the dick, like you do it. That's what you do immediately, actually. So it's like, it's a completely different thing. And I think it's like really
it's a whole different vibe.
Yeah, it's dangerous if you cross those wires, you know?
Yeah. Well, what were the rules in their Fight Club?
Just no headshots. So I was like, okay.
that was the same rule I had in mind. No headshots. I said because brain damage and dental work are expensive.
I could imagine Carmen there, just like when I wasn't there, when this would happen, when it first happened, like outside of like my purview, Carmen probably just piped up. It's like, you guys should probably do it, but no headshots. You know, like it's probably carried over. You know, like.
Oh my gosh, that makes me feel nice. I wonder if it's true.
Yeah, I hope they do. I think it's going to be a regular thing. I mean, cops haven't showed up, and they seem to like do it in a somewhat civilized manner. So, you know, like it's fun to watch. Maybe next time I'll take some bets. Like,
ours got shut down because the venue host injured himself twice. I think he broke his wrist the second time or something. Anyway, he said that he didn't want to fight anymore, and then he didn't want to host it if he wasn't going to fight.
Oh,
So
okay.
he would know he no longer let us use his warehouse to host it in, and then it kind of fizzled out from there. But as long as you have a venue for it, you should do it for sure.
If I had a lot of money, like if I was like a millionaire, that's largely what I would do with my money a lot of the time. I would promote fights. I would like try to like get a tournament together or something. I mean, because especially like, you know, like as a, you know, my school, there's plenty of reasons for us to compete with each other if we're in like federations and stuff, and we do it in like in festivals. Schools get to meet up and like, you know, participate in tournaments, organize tournaments with each other. But if it could be like, if someone just steps up and it's like, yo, listen, I got a $10,000 bag, you know, it's going to be like tournament style bracket fights and whoever, like winner take all, like that would be
money. No way, no money.
What do you mean no money?
Money. When the money gets involved, people act insane. They'll break the rules.
A little interesting.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not that
a little too interesting.
But that's the thing. It's not that they break the rules. It's they'll stretch. It's the game is stretching the rules to its absolute limit. You know, like professional
That's for you.
Professional fighters do that now, right? Right? Like what they do is they completely dehydrate their body before the weigh, and then like as the fight starts, they immediately hydrate and just gain all of that like mass back up. So it's like shit like that. It's dangerous, but they fucking do it.
They all get kidney stones, all of them.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Pissing out rocks.
Yeah, did you ever see that Conor McGregor documentary?
No.
Oh, it was pretty interesting. I mean, certain like documentaries, like I just wouldn't give a fuck about. Like, I'm sorry, I don't care about like a video tour of Taylor Swift, but you know, to see like Conor McGregor's day to day when he was like competing at his highest level, that was like pretty interesting. You know, it's like the degree.
Yeah, he's an extreme personality too.
Yeah.
Like he's a real brash, loudmouth individual in the best way.
Yeah,
I always, and I really like his walk that he does too when he's showing how loose he gets.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? The noodle arms.
Yeah. The jiggy swag.
Yeah, dude, he's awesome.
Yeah, I love that Conor. Yeah, it was also like it's. I mean, it's also the world these guys live in. They it's not like they go by tournament to tournament. Like they go by fight to fight. So they put everything, like months and months and months of work into just one fight, which could potentially last like not even a minute.
You become obsessed with one guy. You don't even hate it. It's almost like this guy, the guy that you're going to fight is, you know, you're sort of fighting him in your head all the time. He's become like you have like a relationship with this person that you've never even met.
Yeah, and it's like it's weird because it's mutually parasocial. Meaning, for example, like when it comes to like me fighting against my dojo mates, the people that I regularly train with, like I know their moves, and to be honest, they know my moves, and that automatically makes it like a really tough fight, you know, for both of us. Whereas if it's like you're not training with this guy every single day, you're not training with him at all, you're training against him if anything. So it's like it's a much more intense thing, and there's a lot more fog of war. Like you don't really know like if it's someone you know and you train with them all the time for years and years, like you know exactly what you have to like work on with yourself to be able to solve very, very specific problems. Like how do I get past that one specific guard, or how do I react just a little faster every time this person does this? Whereas for this, it's like you're just getting ready for anything that could come at you. Like one wide hit just lays you out. All it takes is one, you know, like, so it's like, I don't know. It's pretty intense. I like it. It's cool.
Yeah, man. I did, it's been a real long time. I think the most I ever did in martial arts was when I was fairly young. I don't even know if I was in high school yet, just a little bit of Taekwondo, but much of Taekwondo is very tournament points based, sort of focused.
Yeah.
And I don't know if in an actual fight, if I'd have time to space back 8 feet and then really wind up and just try to, like, I don't know, crack somebody in the upper arm or something like that. Like what? It doesn't seem that applicable, but I remember enjoying building competency, building that competence and getting stronger and stronger, more and more flexible, more and more reach, and being able to just do things that I couldn't do before at all on command.
Yeah, I think
one of them.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely this tipping point when you do anything for like, and everyone's going to reach it like at a different point. You know, everyone works at a different pace, but there's definitely this tipping point where, you know, maybe it's the first year, maybe it's the first 2 years, maybe it's the first 3 years, depending on what you're studying too. you could be like, yo, I'm a piece of shit. Like, I fucking suck at this. Like, you're not going to keep going until you until you get that out of the way first. You have to like break in that way. Like, your ego has to break in a way where I'm good at that. That's why like it was easy for me. It's like, yeah, I know I'm a piece of shit at this. Like, there's no way I'm going to be better at anything, at this than any of you guys. You guys have a few years on me, this and that. But if you get that out of the way and train earnestly with a desire to still get better and better and better, then you reach that tipping point where you start winning fights, and then you're like, what the fuck? How did I know that? And then and then you start winning more and more. That's where I'm at right now. Like, I don't know if I'm at my peak.
Awesome.
I don't know if I'm at my peak, but I know I'm at that point where it's like, I know how to like not fucking lose if I really don't fucking want to lose. Like,
no, it works now.
The best swordsman in the Northeast or the East Coast?
Just
Which
like
one?
Generally the East Coast, but there's only like a handful of schools that are part of the federation. But still, like, it was like a lot of fighters. Like, it was like it was a 36-man bracket or some shit, 32-man bracket, something like that.
That's pretty big.
Oh
man.
yeah,
yeah. But it was like like I said, it's different when it was like I was fighting a bunch of people that I didn't know. To me, it was just like, okay, I pretty much know, like, they don't know what I'm going to do. So I could be as tricky as I fucking want, and that's how I could win. Whereas, when it came against like, oh, now I have to go up against people who know me, like from my school, those were the
They know your style.
Yeah, those are the tougher fights. And that's why, that I knew I was at a place. It wasn't from winning the tournament, but it was before the tournament when I started winning fights in my dojo. I was like, oh shit, I think I broke something. It's like you break something shifts in your perspective, and then you just add that missing like piece of the puzzle, and then you're like, oh, okay, I get this now.
That makes sense. I mean, mindset is a huge part of it too. I imagine, not just the physicality and having the reflexes, but sort of just getting through a mental barrier of I can do this, I can't do this.
Yeah, it's the fear. Fear is a big barrier because it sucks getting hit. But if you stop getting scared of getting hit, like if you're used to it, then like that's definitely like one huge obstacle. Which is probably why people should practice martial arts, even if you don't get crazy good at it. Just getting used to getting hit, it's a good place to be. And but for me, the missing piece that made me from like kind of competent to actually good was range. Because when you're sword fighting, like, yeah, there's like, you have swords which extend your range, but when you get so used to the range where like you could basically you could kind of eyeball it by like down to the inch or the centimeter. It's like, I know if I get this close and I swing the sword, it's gonna miss, but if I lean in just like an inch, it's gonna hit. So if you know that better than the other guy, like intuitively, that's a huge advantage, like crazy.
Totally
advantage.
Get it, man. I used to play Keelik all the time in Soul Calibur 2. Totally understand.
It's like the same thing.
Yeah, it is.
You guys are basically peers.
It's the exact same thing, pretty much. Like it's the same thing because if you gamify it like that and like no one's like putting their life on the line, then yeah, it becomes a game of who knows range better, who knows the hitbox, like who knows whose hitbox way better.
Right.
Yeah.
People have hitboxes. They're just
joking,
like more refined.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. You do have. Everyone's got like. Well, yeah. You got your own hitbox. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. I thought about this in so many. I've spent like weeks just obsessing over this shit. Like, it's literally.
I bet.
Yeah. It gets to a point where it's like you're fighting against a person and you fight like 1,000 duels in your head in a split second. It's like I could do this. 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 And then it's time to just do it. And then that's what you do. I was actually recently thinking about getting out of New York State. I just don't know where to go.
Yo, come here.
I know I could go to Tennessee, but like there's also like how much time I would actually get off. And just getting out, I also have to think about like what I'm going to do with my cat. I could bring the cat if I travel, or I could just like leave the cat in someone else's care. I don't know.
Bring the cat.
Yeah, cats don't like travel, but I believe you can get like cat quaaludes at the vet specifically for if you're going to be driving for 12 hours or whatever.
That's true.
Maybe
some cats like it, but most don't.
Maybe I should work on getting at least the cat more used to like the outside environment. Put him on a leash, take him for walks.
Yeah, I am. I have 3 cats. 3 of the 4 kittens really enjoy going outside. Unfortunately, the one that I'm keeping for sure is she hates going outside, but I have this cat leash, and one of them screams every day to be taken out. But when you do it, you got to start like you just let them lead you around a little outdoor area.
Yeah.
and then eventually they'll get more confidence.
Yeah. And I don't know, like my guy's got a lot of energy, so I feel like I gotta, I work from home, so I play with him like all the time, just to kind of help him get it out. I think he likes to chase me. Yeah, I just run around and he chases me.
That's awesome. He
I played this
you.
game with my kitten today, where I was watering all the plants in our house, and so I was watering all the plants, and the whole time I was acting like it was an emergency, and I was talking to her, and I was going, Noodle, quick, we have to get water to the plants or they'll die. And she's like chasing me around the house while I'm pouring water into all the plants. Quick, we have to get back to the sink and refill the bowl. And she like slides across the kitchen floor and leaps onto the sink and watches me fill the bowl up. It really makes chores a lot more fun. I recommend doing that.
Oh shit.
I love when you see those videos. It'll be some guy in his truck or whatever, and he'll be having like a real long conversation about work with his dog. And he's like, and you know what Jerry's like? And the dog's like, oh, what? Oh, he's just hyper engaged. I think it's good to talk to animals.
Yeah, me too. Especially when they get so excited, they make your chores fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and raising an animal can be like a meditative experience too. I feel like it makes you closer with nature in a way.
Definitely, dude. Raising animals gives me consistently more joy than anything else. I absolutely love taking care of animals. They're just like people who are always on psychedelics. That's how people are like animals, but they're stupid. No, they're not. They're just high. It's all right.
You know what? Speaking of joy, I want to ask. Look, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer. I just want to say, like, in your definition, how would you guys define magic? Like, because I hear people say like, oh, either magic is real or magic is not real, but it's kind of like a little tough when you ask them, well, what is magic? So how would you guys define it?
What a nice question. I'll say, I think, and this is rather vague, it's rather broad, but I think magic is anything, loosely, anything involving the metaphysical.
I see.
Generally, it involves like some kind of interaction with the metaphysical. It could be said that meditation is magic, or transcendental meditation certainly could be called magic. Yeah, so much. People call herbalism magic, but I think that's very silly. I think it's just science.
Yeah, like a holistic science.
Yeah, like if you drink lemon balm tea, your brain will make GABA for you. And that makes you feel calm. That's not magic. It's just a chemical effect.
Yeah, like, anything to do with like direct stimulus on the physical form, and it'll have like an actual effect, an observable effect on your mental body and your energy. I consider, someone, well, magic to me is basically like the willful manipulation of reality using intention and energy,
Sure. People have this idea.
Metaphysical. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, people have this idea like, oh, well, what you're doing is actually you're just doing things that alter the physiology and the perceptions of reality of all the people that are around that when it's happening. That's not really magic.
Sounds like magic to me. I don't know.
It sounds like fucking magic to me. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. If you like, what is reality? Now you're saying like, no, it's just everyone's senses and the way that they experience their own soul and being that's changing. It's not really happening.
It sounds
pretty talking about,
it sounds fundamental to me. So like I recently I came across like I forgot the source, but it was just this one-liner, and they were like, people who are in complete control over their mind and their emotions are the most powerful psychics of all. And I was like, that is absolutely 100% true. I think like if you could willfully make yourself happy or sad using your thoughts, consciously do it, then you're like miles ahead of probably like 90% of the people in this world, to be honest.
Yeah, well, this is something I think I brought up to you, which is like as you develop any kind of that muscle that it takes to interact with metaphysical stuff.
Yeah.
Metaphysical stuff you don't necessarily want is going to notice you because you're like, whatever. I hate all the words around this because they're all
cringy.
made up.
Yeah, it's cringy.
It's
like,
cringy as fuck.
Like vibes and frequency and shit. Yeah.
I was about to say literally vibrating at a certain frequency.
But it's true.
And I was like, I hate it.
But it's all true.
But yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But you know, all this stuff, all this nasty stuff might notice you, and you have to be in control. You have to develop your like force field bubbles so that you know what to let in and what to keep out. Like that is such a huge part of when you start developing that stuff.
100%.
Otherwise, it's like you're building like a shiny golden mansion and it doesn't have any doors on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, 100%. I look at it logically. Like, okay, suppose you don't believe in like the metaphysical nature of it, but you got to realize it's an actual observable thing. Like it's a thing that could be acted upon, and it's a thing that our physical form, our physical bodies and our senses react to. So you may not believe in it, but there's people with a lot more resources than you, with a lot more knowledge than you, with a lot more influence than you, who actively do this shit to you, like to you on a mass level and on an individual level. And it's like knowing that kind of like that kind of puts you in a position where are you a retard? Like, are you gonna just ignore this and play like completely just stay in, like, or
I will say I think people can develop force fields against that just by working on their like mental stability without ever practicing magic. I think you can keep out a lot of that shit just by working on. You don't even have to believe in metaphysical stuff. You can you can just be like, I have to be in control of my own mind, period.
Yeah, there's different frameworks to describe it, right? There's the vibes, but there's also the like when you described it before as a muscle, like that was a perfect way to look at it, because I feel it physiologically, where it's like a stream that goes just up and down the center of your entire body, like right up the middle.
Yeah.
And that's
how everyone for thousands of years has described it.
Well, all right. So the way I did it was when I was first doing sword practice. When you do like test cuts, you know, where you like cut the rolled up straw mats and like you chop it. The thing is, it's not that easy to do, and it's all in your head. And like they make you do it in a setting where everyone's staring at you. Everyone goes one at a time. You're being stared at. You're being criticized. You're being judged, and all that shit. And it's designed to be as high pressure as possible. And it's like, can you still do it correctly with that pressure? Everyone gets nervous. That's established from the get-go. You're gonna get nervous, especially when you first do it. So, because especially when you fuck up once and knowing you can do it, and you fuck up again and again, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? You know, it's all a head game. So, and then I told myself, it's like, how do I do this? How do I not be nervous? So what I would do is I would just like slightly blur my vision, where it's like everyone in the background gets like their faces get blurred out, and I would feel like the pressure build up and like between my eyes, and then it's like, all right, this makes me not nervous. I don't know what I'm doing, but this makes me not nervous. So then like I do it, and then I chop whatever. Then later down the line, like, you know, I go down some rabbit holes describing like reaching a state of like the flow state and no mind and all that shit. And I was like, oh, that's what I was doing.
100%.
That's what I was tapping into. And it was hilarious that like I was doing it without realizing what I was doing.
Yeah. And if you have like even a physical process that ties into that, even if it's goofy or whatever, that's gonna, if it's a trigger that brings you even a little closer to flow state, that's cool as hell.
Yeah, like martial arts, origami, fucking
dancing,
fucking music, anything.
Yeah. But it's like a muscle. It's like you said, you could apply it to anything. I mean, I do it at work. Like when I know like everyone I work with is being like people I work with are being dicks on purpose. Like I'm not there. You know, like I would just be like,
tying that back into Fight Club, I found that like Fight Club really encouraged that flow state for me, and I think it did for everyone else too, because after every single Fight Club, everyone was so like de-stressed and just happy to be together, and we'd all just go somewhere together and have a drink or eat. You know, it really removes you from yourself. In a funny way, because you're in danger the whole time, but you're just like, I'm right here and nowhere else.
What's even crazier is like once you get into that state, that like automatically branches into everything, like from meditation to manifestation to invocation spells to banishment spells to like everything.
All of it.
All the arcane. Once you reach that like build up that weird invisible pressure, it like going up like the center of your body, like the chakra points and all that shit. I mean, because what fascinated me was like I did it completely by accident, because apparently one of the main ways to unlock it is you got to unblock your chakra points. You have like, what is it, 8 of them or something? Seven. I did it completely by accident because I was rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender, and just this one episode, there was like Aang just had to like unblock all his his chakra points step by step.
Yeah,
And
I really liked that storyline.
yeah, so I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's do it along with Aang, and it turned out to be like a crazy thing because it's such a visceral part of all human experiences. It's like, you know, what really blocks your sacral chakra? Well, it's usually shame. So it's like, all right, what are you most ashamed of? And then just let it go, and boom, and then you go like one after the other, and it has like a crazy actual effect on you.
It's
and like,
crazy.
And you know what? You could just be super ignorant to it. Just watch that episode and go through that in your mind. You know, like just letting it all go, and you just think nothing of it. Like a month or two goes by, a year goes by, and you're gonna get hit with all sorts of shit. Just because you did that, you may not realize what you did, but you just opened yourself up to like a crazy amount of metaphysical experiences without even meaning to.
You opened Pandora's box.
Yeah,
from a fucking child's cartoon, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I hope they know what they're doing with that. Like.
I think they did. That show's pretty clever.
You would like the you ever watch Avatar is so fucking good for what it is.
It is
like
really
it's a little bit it's sort of into something else in disguise almost. Maybe you would like the episode of the classic Dragon Ball before Dragon Ball Z where Goku meets Mr. Popo. Because Goku was always like this really physical guy, but he taught him how to be like a stone. He taught him how to essentially meditate, and I don't know. I just thought it was in like kids media, which I'd say the original Dragon Ball kind of is. It was just a really I don't know. Maybe it was just me, but I thought it was a really powerful presentation on like what meditation is and what stillness is.
Yeah, that's awesome you said that.
It's very powerful.
First of all, I think Dragon Ball, just as a franchise, really centers around Taoism. I think they're all about the Tao.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, when it comes to like the chi blasts and and like the crazy martial prowess, and it's all Tao shit. You know, like Taoist shit, which I love. You know, I stopped eating big animals, like big quote unquote, like because apparently like bigger animals have more complex chi networks, which means they could generate more fear energy, more fear chi, and when you eat that, you know, knowing that they're probably terrified moments before they die, and they're secreting all these like fear energy chemicals, hormones, whatever, and you're
just stress.
That. Yeah, so I just stick to eating like the most retarded meat possible, like chicken, fish. You know, so I don't. Yeah.
You know, in 2013, I stopped eating all meat because I noticed every time I ate it, I felt really sick and nervous and sweaty, and I would get like horrible nightmares if I had it for dinner, and I didn't start eating fish even until 3 years ago now. I started eating fish because being a vegetarian takes so much prep work and so much like number game autism on your nutrition. And you know, a little bit of fish is like a cheat code.
Yeah. Yeah, and
you don't think of fish getting too stressed out? I'm sure they do. A bit,
I don't think they worry much.
They're like vegetables, like big cells. You know, like
just edible, delicious edible monsters.
Yeah, pretty much. Also, another cartoon that I rewatched that was like really strangely, unexpectedly, but like in retrospect, of course it would be that like kind of on point was Shaman King.
Shaman King.
Never even heard of it.
All right, so Shaman King is this anime about this
check that out.
About this like 14-year-old kid. He's a part of a bloodline of shaman in Japan. You know, like people who had a relationship with the spirit realm, and they would be able to commune with spirits and allow the spirits to possess them so that to grant them the spirits' abilities. Right? That was just the ability of the shamans. Now, as it turns out, every 500 years there's a tournament where shamans from around the world come together and fight, and to see who would become Shaman King and would allow themselves to ally with the grand spirit, the great spirit, you know, of Earth. And they refer how like Buddha and Jesus at one point were Shaman Kings, like they became Shaman Kings by winning.
Damn.
Yeah. So when you start meeting other shamans like from like different regions and different countries, it gets fucking awesome because like, you know, the main character is from Japan, so a lot of his shaman ability is based around like Shintoism and all that shit. And
I love Shintoism.
Yeah, and invoking like nature spirits and samurai spirits and stuff like that. And then you go to like China, and it's like a Taoist shaman, and he's like super dark and all about like, but they become friends, you know. And then and from there was like a whole sect of shamans. You know, they were all allied, like in different crews, and they were all Buddhists. So they were like their shaman, their spirit allies were like different Hindu deities or Buddhist deities or something. It was pretty crazy. And there was another sect. There was another faction, and they were all like, super. What was it? Like their aesthetic was like all like Judeo-Christian. You know, they were all allied with like archangels and shit. It's just it was unexpectedly like
damn.
And at the end,
that sounds so cool.
And at the end of it, like where the tournament like concludes, like they go to the lost continent of fucking Mu. I was like, are you serious?
Yo,
like they added this shit. Like I was just blown away. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. It was.
Because you have that saved. You have that information saved. Shaman King.
It's on Netflix.
We're gonna watch the hell out of that.
Gonna check it out. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
Would you say it's in the like still in the shonen world, or
it's
It's
a shonen jump anime.
Infrared. Oh, it is Shonen Jump. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So fun.
All right, I'll check that out. I still got a real soft spot for like old school pure shonen, just goofiness.
Yo, what's hilarious?
Really good message.
Yo, this show came out in 2000. So, what the ones you would watch on Netflix, it's pretty much like a 1-to-1 remake, just with like, you know, tidied up animation, like more modern animation, same story beats and all that. But it takes place in the year 2000. Because, like, you know, the way their timeline works, like the shaman fight happens every 500 years, so they just kept it in 2000. Yeah,
damn, that's cool.
Yeah, I was just blown away by it because like I was just getting into like all this occult stuff, and then suddenly it's like, oh, the guy who does like fucking voodoo has to fight the guy who does necromancy, you know, from like human remains, but like
actually, that's cool.
It's sick. It's fucking sick. I mean,
I'm definitely gonna watch that.
I mean, because like when you think about it, like in real life, like when you think of like initiates into the arcane arts, like people who are trained, like schooled into this, they're good at it. Maybe they're gifted. Maybe they just became adepts. Like they learned like domination over their own mind and emotions. Like that's what that to me is what that defines a magician. That's like a sign of a magician. If you're dealing with a person who has complete control over their mind and emotions, they're a player in that game. They're a player. Yeah. They're a real player.
And if you're paying attention, you know that. You can just tell.
Yeah,
it's like a presence thing.
Because a non-initiate, a person who isn't there, what are they? It's really easy to read those people. It's easy to manipulate those people because their minds, their thoughts, and their desires are only going to go to like a handful of places. Like it's either surrounding like a fear of the future, which is a fear of death, you know, or it's either going to be a security, like, you know, they're seeking abundance, they want more resources or something, or they're dwelling on past trauma, you know. So it's like if they're uninitiated, you know that they're steeped and their consciousness is locked into dwelling on one of those three avenues of being, which are all bad for you, all fucking terrible.
It's like being it's like leaking.
Yeah,
it's like being a leaking balloon.
Yeah, but if you are dealing with a person who isn't like that, like what are their desires? Like what are their aspirations? Because like it makes them like more of a wild card to deal with in real life. It's like, holy shit, this person knows the game, so what the fuck are they doing with that? You know, like it becomes like a spectacle in itself if you know what to look out for. So it's like, I don't know, it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it's really impressive to meet people. I would say there's more people who practice magic than there are people who have total control over their emotions. But people who do have total control over their emotions are particularly impressive.
Well, it's not like, you know, like being in total control over your emotions. It's more about like knowing how to transmute your current emotional states. So it's if I feel like shit with my thoughts, I know how to not feel like shit, you know, because like you would think that's such an easy thing to do, but it's actually surprisingly very tricky.
Super hard.
But once you get it, it changes everything, you know, because you realize like everything starts with our thoughts. Everything starts with our emotions before we get to do anything in life, you know? So if you could figure out that foundational aspect of everything, then everything else is just going to fall into place ultimately.
That's a really good point. I was just talking today about how I've been feeling this this sort of rage boiling up in me, where if I'm interacting with people most of the time, I seem to be in this perpetual state of disgust or rage. And I was talking about that, and I was like, I'm going to start lifting every morning again. I'm pretty sure that's going to straight up fix it, like just switch it around.
Mm-hmm. You have to be physical. Your body, we weren't designed to not be physical at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting too much buzzing around.
Yeah, I feel like if the collective frequency is in a gradual process of raising, which that's the only way, like, you know, things will ultimately get better. If we just collectively as a species together learn how to get better at controlling our emotions and our own thought processes and thought patterns, if we collect, that's going to change the world. The thing is like, as it's happening, like you're going to have an example of, say, like, let's say one person figures out, oh, meditation is good for me. Like when I'm feeling like shit, instead of going out and, you know, like going on the highway with an open bottle of Jack Daniels or some shit, I'm just going to meditate about it. You know, like that once they figure out how to do that and they know how to do that, there's still going to be other people in their life who don't know how to do that. So it's like those two people trying to like interact on a daily basis is just not going to work. It's almost like it's going to split. Like people who are so insistent on being rooted in like a specific way of being are not going to like want to be able to vibe with people who are trying to fix their shit, pretty much, you know?
I remember, I wouldn't describe myself as like an adept or anything like that. But I remember when I first started getting into meditation and how goddamn cool it was, and how, for lack of better words, how goddamn crazy and serene I would feel as I did it.
Yeah.
And one thing I started doing, I actually began neglecting the people around me, and neglecting like the physical realities and like financial realities and things like that.
It's a really common trap.
It doesn't even, that stuff doesn't actually matter though. Now that I know about this, I'm actually set. So I'm actually cool, and I'm actually way better off this way, and I feel much better. I had to, you know, that was like the first 6 months, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm doing this right, and maybe I'm good at it, which again is ego shit. But,
there's an old Taoist proverb about that, and I've kind of been living it recently. But a bunch of monks, I can't explain it, read it the same way it was written, but basically a bunch of monks travel up into the mountains to become adepts, and then they train for years and years and years, and they become super psychic, and they're levitating, and they're master swordsmen, and they're hanging out in their little mountain away from the whole world. And they notice that down below there's all this chaos, and everyone's, a mess, and they're acting crazy, and there's this warning of like, you can't just avoid everything in order to become like a master of your own mind. Like if you do become a master of your own mind, you can do that alone, but then you're going to have to be able to do that around all of this bullshit as well, because there's always going to be bullshit.
Yeah, I can meditate like crazy in a dark room with a sleep mask on and binaural beats strapped across my head. Anybody, but I think most people could do that.
Yeah.
Yo, that actually, it's honest. Well, on the most observable level, like martial arts really helped keep me grounded. So I don't go. So as far as I went, there was always something to like really bring me back and like
physical.
Keep me in touch. It was a physical discipline, literally. So like that helped me, I think. And another thing was when I first approached it, I felt like, because I saw the rapid shift. Like at first there was one point where I didn't get it. And then once I did get it, it wasn't just like an aha moment in my head. It was like a crazy physiological change. I was like, what the fuck? So when that happened, it was such a sudden shift. I was like, what have I been doing? What the fuck did I do to like suddenly trigger this? Like, what was it aside from just life events? And I was saying like, well, I was cleaning my head. I was getting away from people. I was training really hard for that sword tournament. Like I was like really dedicated. So my body got cleaner. My body got better. I ate better. I stopped drinking as much. And I think I just primed myself to kind of be able to like handle that shit. Cause I think it's what the alchemists call like the balance between alignment of mind, body, and spirit.
All three.
Yeah. And I think like I just accidentally did that, like just from trying to win that tournament. It's like, if I don't win this tournament, I'm gonna have to shave my fucking head. So I just committed myself wholly, and it accidentally turned out. It's like, oh, there you go, And it's funny because like if you look at like every religion, they all tell you to do that same thing in like different ways. Like so they'll say, oh, don't have premarital sex, don't drink, don't smoke, don't do this, don't do that. Which, I mean, some of them are more like militant about it than others, but ultimately just all sends you to the same place. You're just like, I'm closer to God now.
The Bhagavad Gita has this really cool bit where it talks about like 3 different paths,
Yeah.
And it's the meditator, the yogi, and the devotee. And so like the meditator is like, you know, the guy with binaural beats strapped to his head in his room doing transcendental meditation. And the yogi is, you know, doing yoga or physical activity. And the devotee would be like someone who very seriously follows the word or the law of the Bible or some other book. But all of these things, according to the Bhagavad Gita, can bring somebody to enlightenment.
Christ
I mean, I think yeah. And I think there's a secret fourth path, which is sort of, I call it like the Dante's Inferno path, which is, I've seen people do this before where they just like dive down, down, down into the pits of absolute despair and hell.
And
then they just like, boop, yeah, pop right up.
Yeah, that's the Carl Jung way. Straight up.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
Shadow assimilation and like, hey, here's the 90 ways I'm a piece of garbage and I don't even deserve a good life, actually.
And funnily enough, I think that's why, like, honestly, a mass global spiritual awakening is imminent, in my opinion. I don't know this for a fact. I just
fingers crossed.
Oh, geez.
I mean, I just feel like it's coming. Like, because I look at it this way. First of all, what gives me the most hope, if like an absolute idiot, like a fool like me, could fall into this, you know, in a completely natural way, just all it took was like a little bit of faith in myself. If that could just send
discipline.
And discipline, yeah. So if that could, you know, just doing the right things. And it's like such simple fundamentals that you actually have to commit to. So if you could just do that, I think that's going to like spread and take on. And also,
well, you know, I love that idea and I hope you're right. And I don't want to be, not to be a negative Nancy, but what will have to be overcome for that to happen is the CIA spending trillions of dollars on eroding people's will to have discipline.
Yeah. I mean, another thing is like the dark night of the soul, like where like shit has to get so fucking bad for you, where it is really a case of there's, you know, once you hit true rock bottom of the soul, there's only one way to go. I think that's becoming more common too, because life is getting progressively more and more and more shitty for people. So you're just gonna have more cases where people are like, you know what, I'm done with this. I am just completely checking out. I'm doing something completely different, because at the end of the day, who's gonna fucking stop me? And I think it's gonna, like, more people are gonna do that. And
I hope so, and that might happen, and it would be so cool.
I mean, we saw a lot of it during COVID. I think that's one thing that was like that was an inflection point in that steady curve of like people like waking up and like per populace, I guess. Like, I think like once COVID happened, you know, and lockdowns were like incurred, it forced self-inquiry. It forced moments like
it did.
It was weird watching people who had not come close to that, like experience it for the first time. I wanted to be compassionate, but sometimes I would be like, yeah, man, I've been doing this shit for like 15 years and I'm not even very smart or good. Like, what are you talking about?
Oh yeah.
It's but you know, like I felt like a lot of people in New York City were so hyper socialized and really used to the buzz and crackle around them, like that being absent all of that, I feel like it really did crack a lot of people that are very used to like urban environments and going into their jobs in person, talking to everybody and getting shit from people, et cetera, et cetera. The stark contrast must have really shook a lot of people. Luckily, I had been, you know, I was in a weirdly a fortunate position. I'm very used to talking to people online in my bedroom, playing Morrowind or something like that. So I was, you know, I was used to the, maybe not dark night of the soul, but solitude, I guess.
Yeah, the solitude wasn't a problem for me. I did have the main thing that COVID did was it absolutely killed my dog training business that I had going. But that was actually great because I'd been waiting to leave Massachusetts for years, and my only excuse not to was, well, I have this business going. I should probably like get the business together, sell it, and then I can leave after that. And it was just every year I'd be like, yeah, this year I'm going to sell the business and get out of Boston. Finally, it fell apart because of COVID, and I was like, I'm leaving.
Yo, what's funny for me, it's like, I had like like that like breaking point, but it wasn't any worse than anything I've actually been through in my life. Like I've been through some traumatic shit, completely shrugged it off. I've watched someone get murdered. I've been through group home stuff. Like I've been through domestic abuse, like all of it, you know? So
yeah,
but I was honestly, I that shit really did roll off me. But like what really broke me, what really fucking broke me was, you know, I was in such a euphoric state from winning the sword tournament. I was like, I was up in the air. I had absolutely no worries. I was completely 100% receptive to the world. Then I was watching, just scrolling through news shit, and they just said like some guy went before Congress and admitted that like the U.S. government had like UFOs and like alien bodies, and they just admitted it to Congress. And it just sent me down this insane set of rabbit holes with like, you know, having to do with like reptilian overlords and like, you know, UFO conspiracies. And like, dude, I learned like a lot of the conventional like ufologists, like, you know, lore and all that shit, like all of their pools, all the most like famous cases. And I went through all of it. And it kind of like broke me in a way where I had like this existential crisis. And then my immediate reaction was like, what the fuck do we do about this? And then like as soon as I asked that question, every source would say the same thing. They say, well, the reason why we're suffering under these, you know, conditions from these reptilian overlords, the cabal, whatever you want to call it, demons, the reason why they're able to control us and exploit us like this is because we have such a low state of consciousness. We have to raise our consciousness. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean, raise our consciousness? So I looked it up, like, oh, well, you know, what does raising your consciousness mean? And once I started reading about it and like it started like clicking in my head, I was like, oh, and it's like everyone just has to realize that they are the universe, essentially. They are the focal point of the universe being made aware of itself. So it's like the fact that you're conscious is actually a miracle because you are of the universe, therefore the universe is conscious if you're conscious. So this is all like everything just like suddenly connects. And you develop that instant connection with the higher cosmic forces, whether you call it God, whether you call it source, whether you call it the universe, it's there, you know, because if you're here, it's there, just guaranteed, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, no, for sure, man. I love hearing about how you got into all this because it seriously, like, it gives me hope in general.
Also, I look at like conspiracy theorists, you know, people who are like really obsessed over this shit, and I'm like, you didn't go deep enough. Like you didn't, you know, if you're here like obsessing over the satanic, like the Satanists in Hollywood or the reptilians, I'm like, you didn't go far enough because if you did go deep enough, then you would understand it. First of all, A, it's fucking hopeless. Like in a material sense, it's hopeless. B, there is a plane where they cannot beat you. There's a level where they cannot touch you, and it's within you.
I was literally yesterday in our kitchen ranting to Lucas about people who get into like being clever and figuring stuff out and then they like stop before the finish line. Like I was on a rant about this yesterday.
Yeah. It's like you're stuck in the 4D. You have to crack one more. Otherwise, because like that's an example of like, you know, when someone gets into the arcane arts and it destroys them, like it drives them crazy. That's what that is. That's like where you went through portals and you didn't go through like, you know, enough portals where you get to the finish line, which
it's like an incomplete initiation.
It's fucked, and
it sucks,
and it's real. Like whether it's like it's alien,
and it's encouraged.
Yeah, it's insane.
Encouraged.
But I think in a level like that's whatever to me because like essentially some people are going to break through. Like once they get pushed through, it's kind of like a build up momentum for them. And then I think a lot of them will be clever enough to get to that point where it's like, oh, it's all okay anyway. You know, they can't touch my soul. You know, like what they could kill me, they could do whatever the fuck they want, but they can't kill my connection to the universe because I am the universe. And that's when people realize their ultimate agency. And I think once more people do that, like things just are like naturally get better. Because then we're gonna stop doing fucked up shit to each other. Because we're gonna realize, oh, me being fucked up to you is just being fucked up to me. Ultimately, like that's gonna hurt me. You know, like. I don't know. I think it's just
this
like
it's a nice pep talk. I really like this.
Well, yeah,
it's just
I'm a kid at story hour right now. This is good.
Yeah, this is what I feel, and it's like I don't even have to preach this. All I have to do is just apply it to myself. So I, you know, like people could be like, "Oh, wow, you look great. You seem like you're doing great. Like, what's your secret? Like, what are you doing?" And I will tell them. Well,
other people notice.
Well, if you really want to know,
you can't. I've tried so many times. You can only tell people who are actively like, hey, can you tell me about this? And sometimes I'll be like, hey, do you want to know about this thing? And someone will be like, yeah, definitely. And then, you know, we'll go over stuff.
But that whole fucking alien thing, that's just that was absolutely that was lunacy.
It's
like,
nothing.
I was like, yeah, I know, but like it was just enough for me to like tug and then pull and pull and pull. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about the whole
apart.
like the alien announcement, I think there was one in 2021, and then they did another one last year where they said again, like, no, aliens are real. We know about them, guys. Seriously.
Yeah.
The really funny thing about both of those is that everyone was like, yeah, okay, I'm fucking busy.
Yeah. I got a real lot going on right now. If you could, I could talk to you later about this, I guess.
If the aliens are gonna say hi to me, let me know. I'll make a casserole.
Yeah.
Right.
Yo, but
Bake 'em a pie.
I by no means think like I'm like any kind of intellectually gifted, but like if I'm clever enough to because that's how you're supposed to take it. Like once you really ponder aliens, like contemplate it, take like 30 minutes to just really mull it over. I feel like logically you're gonna get to a point where it's like, oh, so the aliens are intricately, the whole alien business is intricately connected with spirituality, like on a fundamental level. It's not even a question. You know, like,
oh yeah, I mean it's everything, right? So then that includes aliens.
Yeah, I mean, if you also think about like the most advanced species like ever, far more advanced than us, are they really going to be advancing in this way with like material technology and like material industry, or are they going to keep raising their like psychic, like I don't. You know, it's like
we're gonna make a machine that synthesizes gold and it gives you a blowjob at the same time because I'm such a higher being.
Or it's like imagine like something that could just like make a sound and like so make something really heavy, not heavy. You know, shit like that.
Yeah, man.
Or maybe
I feel like even that stuff, being able to blink in and out of like blink through reality and fold space on itself and appear in different places in different forms and things like that.
Oh,
even that probably gets tiring after a couple thousand years.
Yeah.
You know?
Probably.
You know what I did experiment with though? That is 100% like real shit. The effect of sound on like your spiritual body and stuff. Like remember what we were talking about? How like you feel that pressure going down the center.
Yeah.
What I was looking at was like different frequencies, like solfeggio notes and all that stuff, and like sound was a huge part of it and its effect on the human body. And I do think that's mad real because on a scientific level, like they did experiments where they would like put out water on a flat surface and like play different sound frequencies so it makes like different shapes when it vibrates.
Yes.
So like. And that was with water, and most of our bodies are like made of water, so it only makes sense that it's going to literally affect us on a biological level. And and that leads to conspiracy theories in itself. It's like, oh, why is it all tuned to 440 hertz? Shouldn't 432 hertz be much more applicable and favorable? Shit like that.
But we were talking about this when we were last speaking. You were saying you were doing that with your music.
Yeah, I did it for the last beat, and it's not that it's actually got. That stuff always gets more views. Like when I type in the title like 432 hertz.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
But I would.
People feel that it has like there's not like a big body of research on how well it affects. Yeah, we're made out of water. How does that affect every cell in the body and the way they interact with each other? Because the body is a pretty complex machine. But I don't know. It seems like a good place to start. Seems like a good place to start looking into that stuff.
Yeah, it's a very tangible way for us to connect with like intricate pieces of us, I guess. Just sound. It's weird.
Yeah.
But I also think like, for example, like suggestion and emotional intention and emotional suggestion are very, very important because if I'm coming to this belief and like fully embracing that reality is downstream from consciousness, then like your emotional state is crucial. Like, so it's like, how do you manage that? And furthermore,
go ahead.
I mean, furthermore, like what's fucking with that actively, like on a mass level? If we're all getting like fucked with it, then you really take a look at what we're consuming, like through our senses, how much of it affects our emotional body in a positive way, how much of it in a negative way. Most of it's like really negative, like
when you think about
the eyes, man.
Lyrics, of like extremely popular songs going back to probably before the 50s. Actually, there's a shocking amount of cruelty and heartbreak that people are just passively fucking bopping to. it's kind of an interesting choice, but we do respond to it, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say on the subject of controlling emotional states, this is such a platitude, but gratitude.
Yeah.
It just like for the tiniest things, like when I was at like the worst point of my entire life, I got to the point where I would like, as a joke, I would sit down in front of my computer to play video games with this guy or something, and I would be like, oh, well, I have a cookie and a juice, and I'm gonna play video games with my friends. What a charmed life I live, and like everything around me is on fire, but I'm just like, yeah, well, look at what the nice things are. And the more and more I did that, the more actually nice things started to happen. And when I stop doing that, and if I like forget to be grateful, it like falls apart.
Yeah, gratitude is a great emotional hack because it's super accessible, very, very accessible. Everyone has access to it. The only problem is it's counterintuitive to make people like making people the better consumer, the better customer, the better slave. If you keep people from feeling thankful for shit, which is so nefarious, like I'm like fucking A, like how deep is like that kind of mind? It's almost mind control. It's emotional control, manipulation.
Oh yeah,
mind control. And
earlier,
but I agree with you about gratitude. I actually say that all the time. Like I'm like. I sound like a broken record when people like say like, oh, I feel like shit, I'm depressed. I'm like, you're gonna call me an asshole for saying this, but try being thankful for something. I mean, it doesn't have to be.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid, but it's so real. It's such like word art in like the dumbest chick know's living room on her on her wall over her TV. But it's like it's so absolutely true and important.
Yeah.
In this home, we respect being very nice. But I like what. Wow. Sorry, I lost that thought.
Well, while you try to find it, I would just say like you could symbolize it in a very utilitarian way. You could be like, imagine like saying thank you as a mental potion. If you're feeling like emotionally poisoned with like bad vibes, bad feelings, just break the glass, take that shot of gratitude and say it. Like
no one wants to hear it on the surface.
It takes faith to commit to that. Like for me, I was at such a low point that I was like, I'll try anything. People have said this to me before. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And I just started saying like, wow, how cool is this for me? My chair is so comfortable right now. Like
that's really it comes off trite.
Yeah.
But like, hey, have you tried smiling?
Yeah.
I know that you're like separated from your loved ones and you are living in squalor and you're in pain. Well, hey, how about a smile? Like no one wants to hear that. Actually do try giving a smile. God damn. Give a big old toothy grin. It has an effect on you. It's very strange. It's very powerful. It actually works even when you're in the pits. Even when you feel crazy, it seems to do at least something and chip away at like, I don't know, feeling like you're in hell.
The ancients would also call it alchemy, like transmuting yourself. It's chemistry. It's like I could turn myself from this state, this piece of shit state, to a more thankful state, just using mental art. And like another trick I picked up on just from a random meme, where it's like, if you're dealing with someone you don't like and they're really like actually making you pissed off or making you feel negative, what you do is you picture them in your mind bathed, literally imagine it bathed in white light, bright white light, and just imagine that image. And apparently like it transmutes like your perspective on this person. It kind of like it reveals things about them, so you feel more like understanding and compassionate. B, the imagery invokes a sense of like peace, and like just wanting things to work out in a positive way. And apparently like, I mean, sure, it may not literally make that person better or worse, but it helps the way you interact with them, So it's like
it's sort of like why you forgive people. Yeah. You actually are. It might even. I don't mean to frame it as like being selfish, but it's for you. It's not really so much for them. You can't be stomping around going, that cocksucker, that fucking motherfucker.
Because that kills you.
You can't be doing that all day.
That literally kills you. I mean, just because you forgive them doesn't mean you forget what they did. Doesn't mean you have to ever see them again. Honestly, it could be a selfish forgiveness. Like, listen, I don't want to carry this anymore. I'm not mad at you. I'm never going to see you again, but I forgive you. You know, I leave you in peace. Done.
Oh, yeah.
Even like going to biblical sources, like where it's like a lot of people have massive problems with their parents. The commandment was to honor. I don't know if it counts as a commandment, but it was certainly very strong advice. To honor your parents.
Yeah.
You don't have to even. I mean, hopefully you do, but you weren't commanded by God and the Christian religion to love your parents or always say good things about them. It's just, but you honor them, and I feel like that's maybe not a complete parallel, but it's on the same track.
Yeah, it's similar.
I would look at that as like a very a really universal experience of what like I would think like there's concepts that refer to it like generational curse. I think in a way it's part of like it's part of one of our duties, life duties as human beings. We come into this earth, we're born to these families. A lot of them are fucked up. A lot of them have really fucked up tendencies. They're caught up in really fucked up behavioral patterns, thought patterns, emotional patterns, and you're this blank slate that comes into this world. And you're going to reach a certain level of like inner development, inner growth, inner evolution to the point where it's like, all right, now you're confronted with your family's generational curse. Are you able to solve this puzzle, which is solving this generational curse? It could look like different things for every family, but every family generally has a variant of it. I mean, in my family, it was
or a couple.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's usually more complex than just one problem. It's usually it's a behavioral pattern. Like the whole pattern's the problem. So it's like I think that's like it makes sense. Like that people with bad vibes attract other people with bad vibes, and then like they reproduce, and their kid is encoded with bad vibes, so they live like shit, behave like shit, eat like shit, feel like shit,
treat others like shit.
So it's like that's gonna
spread it around,
and that's going to be a perpetuating cycle until there's going to be that one person. Not that they fix it or not, but they're going to be made aware of this pattern. They're going to be like, wait a minute, this is a generational thing. This has been passed down from like, and then they see it coming onto them, and they have a choice now because they're aware of it. What am I going to do? I could perpetuate the cycle, say fuck it, find someone just like mom or whatever, or just like dad, and just do what I know.
Hey.
Or you could, in a sense, yeah, or it's Freudian, or you could be like, nah, this shit stops with me. I am never reproducing. I'm getting a vasectomy. Or you could be like, you know what? I'm going to find a person in a similar fucked situation who also has the mutual desire to like heal their generation.
Overcome it.
Yeah. So that's, and you should reproduce with those people because that's going to heal that. It's like, it's that desire. It's like, I'm aware of the pattern. I actively want to heal it moving forward. And I want to alter my family destiny pretty much. Like,
then you both have kids, but then your kids will have the stuff that wanted to do that encoded in their cells too.
Yeah. So like,
ain't it nice?
And it's such a universal thing. Like it's not something that's like unique to like a specific group of people. No, it's like a lot of fucking people. I'm pretty sure it's everybody in a way, So yeah. Generational curses. It was just because I was laughing at it, like how like honestly that just the whole like concept of a generational curse, like when I broke it down, I was like, it's actually it makes so much sense. It's actually hilarious.
Just just an echo. It's an echo from, in some cases, pre-civilizational times.
Yeah.
Big time.
It's like a fingerprint. And but like I said, like the way you fix that, the fact that you could fix it through actual compassion and love and mutual understanding and sharing and finding like people who are like you, that's a beautiful thing. It's like, because it's like the solution's so simple.
Absolutely. I'm totally with you there.
Yeah.
I've thought about that a lot, too much. So much. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, I mean this all ties into like yeah, we got our fingers crossed for a global spiritual awakening, but
your soul's gonna be so healed, you're gonna be sick of healing. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah. So this is why I would I've been doing what I like this is just, I don't know why, but like when I post on social media, it's all I fucking post about, like raising consciousness. That's
great, man.
I get possessed and shit, and like honestly, I just think like the way I see it, it's like I'm kind of doing the pro bono work before I just give myself permission to just manipulate the fuck out of reality to my to what I want. But
no. No, Chris.
What I want to do is I want to give everyone the metaphysical tools. I want the metaphysical Second Amendment. You know, like I want that.
Yeah, that would be great.
I want everyone to have it. And I think if one other person like gets to that state where they start like, you know, understanding their creative power, then they'll just, you know, trigger the next person. And I think that's how it's supposed to go, right? Like you share your gifts, so that they could do with what they do, and they share it with another person. That's what I'm trying to do.
No, that's the ideal. You're charismatic too, so I actually encourage it from you. I'm not charismatic. I'm very prone to being misunderstood when I use language, so I keep to myself and I talk to people who get me already.
I mean, I also just want to like I said, just give people, because I don't know. I don't think it should be kept like secret. I don't think this is a thing.
No, absolutely not. Second Amendment for spiritual awakening. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, I don't really. I'm kind of like fucked up in a way where it's gonna fuck with a lot of people's sense of like familiarity, and it's probably gonna push people into ontological shock if they dwell on it just long enough. Like,
oh, whatever, it's fine. It was gonna happen anyway.
Yeah, that's what I say. I mean, like, what do you think? What do you think like a midlife crisis is? You know, like,
or
you know what I think about
imagine that on your deathbed.
Yeah, literally that. I think about all the time. I think it's in Hindu. When you die, you're faced with like a 1,000-faced demon that scares you so much that you forget your entire past life. And then in Buddhism, you're like confronted with like every horrible notion of everything, like every little secret hidden psychological problem and action that you ever did. And I think those two are very aligned. And I think about that all the time. And almost all of my introspection is heavily based on, when I see that 1,000-faced demon, I just want to go, oh yeah, for sure, yeah, and then just like move on.
You know,
like, I think about that so much.
What's awesome is like, because I got obsessed. I'm still kind of obsessed with it. I love watching like interviews of near-death experiences, like people who've literally crossed over and come back, and they all tell like the same fucking story. It's incredible. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Like they all have the outer body experience, then the astral experience, and then they go to that life review place. Like they go through a space, some kind of liminal space where they're presented with like all their past actions. And generally speaking, like it's never a fully bad or a fully good experience. It's like, I did a lot of bad shit, but I did a lot of good shit too. And then like you get to that point where it's like everything just feels great. Like some describe it as a warm feeling, some describe it as a feeling of love, some describe it as like a completely light feeling free of pain. And they all describe a white conscious living light, which they say that's, I guess, God, you know, or source energy, or or lowercase g God.
And I think before you add all this extra shit that life seems to make important, or at least, you know, maybe it's a modern life thing. I think it's kind of always been a bit like that. Whenever it's I suspect that must be much closer to the default state. That's what you come out as a trauma, hopefully reasonably traumaless infant,
a pure
that's
being,
just been born into the world. Yeah,
a pure being of light. And they say when they were in that state, as that being, as that state, they didn't want to go back. They were like, I don't want to go back. Please, like I want to stay here. I want to stay with you. I feel good here. I don't feel good there.
Back into the meat that hurts. You didn't finish your meat.
You gotta be in the painful meat.
You gotta finish your curriculum.
You have your pudding if you don't eat your meat.
You gotta finish. You have to finish the course. It's basically like a course. Like you gotta finish the course. You gotta like. But apparently that near-death experience empowers you too. You know, like how we were saying, like, yeah, you know, you go through that, oh, fuck moment, well, that's it for them. You know, like after that, they don't talk about it. Well, up until now, apparently for a long time, these people, like they would have this experience. They would just think it's like, oh, it was a hallucinatory experience. There's no point in talking about it. I'm not, until they start talking about it, and they're all on the internet. So you watch one after the other. So you get cross-reference, like, and it's all the same shit. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, that's crazy. Like, it's awesome though. I like it.
God. I like it too.
Yeah, you should. I just spent like hours watching some of my favorite ones was like this guy. He was like a really outspoken like black activist. He was almost like a radical too. Like, and he was saying how like one day he got a heart attack, because of literally the stress he was putting every single day. He would be angry.
Oh yeah,
like he would
wake activism will do that to you.
He would wake up angry. He would spend the day angry, and he would go to sleep angry. And he just he got angrier and angrier until it literally killed him. He had a heart attack, and he had a near-death experience. And he went to that space, and then he realized, oh, we're all the same soul, just having different human experiences. We're just living out different lives in different bodies, but this is where we come from. Like, ultimately, it's the same shit. So that he came back, and he was like, I realized, like, it's not worth it. It's not worth being, like, to kill myself over. And I thought that was, like, incredibly powerful, you know?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Man.
Yeah. I still get kind of like, well, I think about it this way. Like, people talk about simulation theory, right? Like, oh, what if we're all in a computer simulation and it's like aliens or whatever running the whole thing for their entertainment or batteries or whatever. I always say, like, if you had the option of leaving the simulation, like, first of all, is there a difference between that and the notion of, like, a collective consciousness? Really?
No, it's the same.
No, it's the same thing. And then second of all, like, I don't know, like, I think I've spent so much time by myself in my life thinking about all of the metaphysical and focusing on all this metaphysical stuff that sometimes I still feel like, man, like, I worry that this, like, big spiritual awakening won't happen, and I feel this urge to do something about the physical, like that activism urge in me.
But at least you know it's not about, like, going fucking shit up or getting in people's faces. Like,
no, I want to start a school for like teaching rhetoric.
I mean, my form of activism, I should say, has literally been just working on myself, like just strengthening my alignment of mind, body, and soul, which is like gradually overload, you know, in workouts, my daily workouts. So I would gradually, like, progress, you know, the difficulty or whatever. And also, like, literally, I'm completely done with, like, porn and masturbation. I don't do it. I haven't done it since October.
Oh,
yeah.
That's cool.
I forgot you told me that. That's so cool.
Completely off. And, you know, it's like just little things like that, but they have, like, such crazy impacts, you know, like, on your life experience and, like, the things you're able to do.
Yeah, it'll change your shit up.
So what it taught me ultimately, you know, we could, like, tie it up, I guess. But I guess one of the things I would want to leave people off with is I'd say, you know, more than money, more than influence, more than, like, real estate, more than anything material, I would say the greatest resource you could possibly gather and hoard and build up is energy. You know, you want to figure out ways to have more energy, because if you have more energy, anything is possible.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. You could do anything with that.
I think it's a great message.
Yeah. Oh, you guys got any closing statements or, like, plugs or anything?
I was just thinking about how funny it would be to follow that up with, like, check out Super Sick Investigations, our cartoon for your ears on Spotify and YouTube. Check out Liquid Riff Live on YouTube channel. Liquid Riff. Lucas knows how to do the thing with his hands, and I don't. And remember, the most important resource is energy.
Yeah, I'll link that in the bottom.
Yeah,
link
man.
energy
Thank you so
in
much.
the bottom.
Yeah. All right. All right. So wait, I'll stop the recording, but the call's still gonna go.
All right, right on.
All right. Bye, everybody.